A lot of the issues addressed on the album are kind of dark and, you know, a lot more thoughtful than taking a piss in the bath, let's face it. It's just a good angle for the album to have, especially at the end. It's like we're not all serious, you know, we are about playing rock and roll just for fun too.
Another great collection of foot-stomping rock tunes from the living end on their new CD, Roll On, our latest Aus Music Month feature album on Triple J. Their new album, Roll On, which comes out tomorrow, and it's our feature album at the moment on Triple J. It's been produced by Nick Launay, a great English producer who's been living in this country for many, many years. He's worked on classic albums by Midnight Oil and Silverchair in the past. And when I spoke to Chris and Scott, I first of all asked them if they had a lot of ideas heading into the making of this album.
We ended up with too many ideas. By the time we went into pre-production, we'd made probably half a dozen demo tapes with half a dozen songs on each. We just had so many ideas. That was the purpose of pre-production, was just to strip them all back and get the songs, you know, sounding like they weren't so confused.
A whole bunch of different ideas just sort of shoved together.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing with the second album. Everyone talks about this, is that you never usually get a chance with the new material of road testing it for 2 or 3 years, which is what usually happens with a debut album.
It's the joy of making your first record, isn't it? You've got your whole career to make it.
Exactly, and you know what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
So was that very much the case with this album? You just had to go on gut instinct?
Yeah, but it was kind of cool in a way because, like, as Scott was saying, we had so many ideas, and it was really refreshing to be able to just get back to sort of writing tunes and rehearsing and demoing again. And I found it really exciting because I was really kind of determined to get away from the three-chord kind of thrash Prisoner of Society kind of thing, which we'd already done. So the arranging side of it was the main thing we kind of focused on. And it was a matter of trying to, I think, write as complicated songs as we could to try and get away from the three-chord thing. You know, it was almost like a rebellion against what we'd done. So I found it really great. It was really therapeutic to sort of get rid of the past and, like, okay, we're starting off, you know, from scratch again.
You haven't gone too far away from the past, though, have you?
Well, no. I mean, that was one of the things that Nick Launay, our producer, kind of did. First thing when he came in, he was like, well, the songs are great, but, you know, they're just too long and there's too many parts. You're just going to throw people completely, you know. And there was, I think, you know, as I said, it was kind of a rebellion against what we'd done, but maybe I just went a little bit overboard on parts.
And did you take that criticism quite easily and quite readily and agree with it?
Yeah, you know, but at the same time, it's kind of like, well, these are the songs we've written, and I don't really want to change them because, like, that's how it was written. That's how you want it to come across. But, you know, the whole idea of getting someone like him is to listen to his advice. And, you know, 9 times out of 10, he was right. You know, and the songs were a little bit too self-indulgent, dare I say, at times.
So did Nick sort of sit there and go, okay, chop this part of the song completely out, or did he leave it up to you guys to decide?
No, yeah, he did do a lot of that. You know, he'd talk about you know, the kind of feeling he got from one part of a song, and he'd say, I don't quite get to complete that feeling. You know, it'd be good if you could drag that out for a little bit longer. It doesn't feel like it's kind of evolved properly, and that bit just kind of confuses me from the last bit. So, you know, it might not be a good idea to have that there. And, you know, it ended up, to us, seeming like more confusing, you know, as musicians, because there'd be like 6 bars of this and 7 bars of that, and, you know, we're all being rock musicians. We just, everything happens in 4s and 8s, you know. Yeah. The old cliche, we can only count to 4 for crying out loud.
Are you going to be able to play all this stuff now pretty easily on stage?
No.
It's a funny situation to be in, isn't it? Because it was the reverse for the first album.
Exactly, yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, but That's all right. We've started rehearsals and we're kind of nailing it all. It's just there is some pretty tricky stuff going on there. So it's funny we have to listen to our own album to learn
to learn it.
It's a lot challenging on my singing too. I've just sung a lot more on the album, and now it's like put me in the rehearsal room or on stage, and you only get one chance at doing it, and you've got to get it right. So
We've become a cover band again, but we've got to cover our own.
You're actually vocalising a lot more on this album than the first one?
Yeah, a little bit more.
There's a lot more of a sort of a toing and froing between you two and the vocals.
Yeah, a lot more melody and just kind of harmony ideas on this one, because, you know, we've just... I guess the music we've been listening to, you know, all the pop music we've been listening to is all vocal, harmony driven and all that kind of thing. So we want to try and include it, but it's been quite a challenge.
Pop music? What sort of pop music?
Oh, just, you know, the Beatles and the Who, you know.
So being a three-piece, you know, it's like that's the only extra instrument that we can add, being the three of us, is more vocals, you know, unless we bring in a keyboard player, another guitar player or something. The only kind of embellishment is like, well, let's layer it with harmonies. And I mean, we're all fans, as Scott was saying, the Beatles and the Beach Boys and stuff, and Supergrass or something like that, you know, those kind of quirky kind of harmonies and stuff we really dig.
And you know who also did it, who's a major inspiration to you, I guess, Paul Weller and The Jam.
Absolutely.
You know, Foxton sang half of every record, I think, you know, was just always in the choruses and pre-choruses and stuff. It's such a great tool to use.
Like I was born on Saturday, got married on Sunday. Thought I'd never get caught, felt like I just got married and divorced in one day, and it's not my fault.
Listening to the first track off the album, Roll On, it's clear that all the overseas touring you guys have done didn't mean that the songwriting this time around was going to be international in flavour, if you know what I mean. It's got that local base still to it. Is that something that you consciously
Yeah, there's only one Caribbean song on there, and that's Blood on Your Hands. Someone said the other day, sounds like a bit of a Caribbean song, which is kind of cool now that we've been to the Caribbean.
I reckon that's a great track too. I reckon that's the strongest track. Well, it's my favourite track anyway at the moment off the album.
Right, cool.
But we'll get to that in a moment.
Sure.
With Roll On, you're talking about, you know, the Wharfies and Melbourne, and you sort of know straight at the beginning the location of this band is still very much in Australia. Was that an intent or part of the attitude?
I think it was
behind
more of an
writing?
intent with the whole album to try and get in touch with our Australian kind of heritage and roots, and you know, and it is kind of about the Melbourne Wharfie strike, but it's more or less just like a song for the underdog in a sense, to keep your chin up and, you know, get past your obstacles and stuff, which is a pretty Australian thing, I guess. It's kind of a working class kind of attitude.
The track we mentioned before, Blood on Your Hands, as I said before, my favourite from the record. What about this one and the way it came together?
Well, Chris wrote it as pretty much just a straight-ahead punk rock song, I guess. It was just, you know, pretty much flat out the whole way through. And I just thought we kind of covered that territory quite a bit, you know, especially on the last record. And there's a couple of songs like that on this record as well. And I just thought, well, let's try and, you know, do something we haven't done, something a bit more dub, something a bit more groove based, and just, you know, something with some pretty bent out of shape dynamics, you know, just. And the chorus, you know, we just wanted to go for a full-on thrash, kind of as hard and as heavy as we can get ourselves. And it just seemed to work, seemed to be the right song for it, you know. It was just three kind of, the verse, the pre-chorus and the chorus were just three kind of, you know, across-the-board ideas.
And they meshed together.
Yeah, and it worked.
Call to quit, stand up to vote for your dreams, end up in smoke. Calling you out, all of your plans will be washed away. Washed away. Life is a sin, living to win, and we're all sinners after all. We don't sinners after all. We don't want to listen to what you say. We're old enough to know better. You got blood on your hands, can you hear me? We don't want to listen, it's a waste of time. Are you for real? You got blood on your hands, can we be set free? When news becomes gossip and the hounds begin to bleed, the rich man's inspiration becomes the beggar's greed. And there's no way to stop it, servicing that need. Cause the scared cry out, they possess an everlasting greed. Life is a sin when you're not living to win. We're all life is a sin, living to win. And we're all sinners after all. We don't want to listen to what you say. We're old enough to know better. You got blood on your hands, can you hear me? We don't want to listen, it's a waste of time. Are you for real? You got blood on your hands, can we be set free?
And that's
Again,
everything, yeah.
roll out onto the Triple J rooftop to perform live at the Wireless.
She said you're a substitute. Is there something going on around me? Hey,